Dave, are you guys going to be starting your defense tomorrow?
We expect so.
If Lally doesn't run out the clock, okay. So we can expect defense witnesses possibly tomorrow, if not Monday.
We believe so. Yeah.
5-day week next week, is that right?
I don't think the case is going to go 5 days next week.
Excellent.
I think we're going to finish.
Excited. Thank you. Dave, are you guys going to be starting your defense tomorrow?
We expect so.
If Lally doesn't run out the clock, okay. So we can expect defense witnesses possibly tomorrow, if not Monday.
We believe so. Yeah.
5-day week next week, is that right?
I don't think the case is going to go 5 days next week.
Excellent.
I think we're going to finish.
Excited.
Welcome. We're live. Mike Crawford. I want to open up with that little clip today outside the courtroom after court. Turtle Boy, Aiden Carney, doing some great journalism outside the court. He's asked some really good questions to the defense team as they've walked out the last few weeks here. And this was a good question because we're all talking about when is this going to end? The end is near. Tomorrow is the beginning of the end. It's going to be quick. It's going to be fast. It's going to be ferocious. I'm wicked happy about the show tonight. I want to thank, before I bring up our great guests, I want to thank the Broken Baker for the invite last night on his show and Valhalla. They were so great. I love the Broken Baker. I'm glad to see him get more subs last night. He had an all-star cast. I was very happy to be on there with attorney Melanie Baker, Melanie, Melanie Little. I'm tongue-tied. Attorney Melanie Little. She was amazing. She always is. And Brandy Churchwell, and also the other guy. Oh my God, I'm forgetting his name now too. He's an attorney too. He's really good. I like him. Ian Runkle. Amazing last night to be on the show with those three. Amazing. I'm very happy I got to be on there. Thank you so much to the Broken Baker. Follow him. I think I got his name right at least this time. Man, I'm just so busy and hyped up. I just, my words get in front of me sometimes when I get hyped. And this is one of those days because we know it's going to end soon. This crazy ride, we've been going night after night after night. I want to thank these two guests that are back again tonight, who are like part of the show. It's the 3Ms, the trifecta. And I almost have nostalgia now because I know it's not going to be like this in like a week or two. It's going to be once in a while. It's just, this right now is just something that it's like once in a lifetime. And what I'm excited about is what comes next too. Even though, I'm going to have nostalgia about doing these nightly updates, there's going to be a lot more happening now in Massachusetts and Canton. I'm very sure of that. And I'm going to be all over it. The show will be all over it. And I think Mazza Media might be all over it too. Let's bring him up. What's up, Mazza?
What's going on, Mike? How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm feeling really good. How about yourself?
I'm extremely fired up tonight, so I'm all ready to go. So I can't wait. So it's another day in court. Auntie Bev kind of really threw a wrench in my plans for tomorrow. Not that I was going to the Celtics parade, but I did want to watch it without interruption. So I was kind of looking forward to the fact that it was going to be a half day, and then I could kind of at some point just kind of divide all my attention, focus all my give my undivided attention, I should say, onto the Celtics parade and kind of enjoy that and take that in. But apparently Auntie Bev doesn't want to watch the parade and doesn't care about anybody else getting to see it. So I was kind of hoping for half and half tomorrow, half of a court day. The rest of the day could be the parade. We could all just move on and enjoy Friday. But no, Auntie Bev had other plans. So that's how it's going. So
I know.
What are you going
to
do?
I know, right? I'd even like consider changing my plans. We'll see. This is going to end very quickly, it seems like. So
yeah, it does.
It's going to be exciting to see the outcome here.
Yeah.
And we got attorney Bederow.
How are you?
You're in Boston. You're going to the parade tomorrow, aren't you?
I am going to the parade. Yes. So this is about my what feels like 37th trip back here in the last 2 weeks, but back again.
And today was awesome that you're here in Boston. You experienced the hot heat wave.
Yeah, it's hot.
Yeah. And today in court, I mean, it was just more good news for the defense, it felt like, especially with Reno and the timeline and all of that. And just it's almost over. Like the defense is coming. Like, and one of the things that you said it looks like it's true. You predict. I asked you the other show about who might be the first defense witness, and it looks like it's Lucky tomorrow. Like it's going to happen tomorrow.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah. So like I am like, and knowing these experts are coming, I'm on cloud nine. I just feel really good about justice for John O'Keefe, and Karen Reed is factually innocent. And I think she's going to be proven to be. What was your thoughts today?
Wow, where do you even begin? I guess you start at the end with the medical examiner, who probably should have testified about 5 or 6 weeks ago, and you want to finish strong, obviously. And the first medical examiner to me was irrelevant, frankly. The first doctor, she didn't really establish much. Having her say that it could have been consistent with a fall resulting from a car accident, that's wonderful, but that doesn't really add much. It doesn't detract anything, but it's just, irrelevant. And then when you had the actual, pathologist who did the autopsy, I'm not sure she adds much either. He got right into the whole idea in classifying the manner of death, and that's not good for them. Okay, you need a homicide. You need to say somebody caused the other person's death, preferably intentionally, since you chose to charge her with an intentional crime. And to say it straddles the line between accident and homicide, and one is not necessarily any stronger than the other, doesn't get them what they need. And they're behind by a lot, and they needed a strong opinion. Now, you knew they weren't going to get that because of what the report was. But even when she kind of got into the weeds in terms of the cause of death, which is totally different from the manner of death, she seemed to be suggesting that hypothermia was the larger contributing factor, and that perhaps things might have been different with the head injury if something had happened to him sooner in terms of getting him warm, getting him inside. I doubt it. I mean, that looked like a pretty serious head injury with a ton of fractures, as she demonstrated. But the first thing that jumped out at me after saying, how is this going to get them to the finish line, was this idea that when she said he's lying out in the cold, death was not going to be instantaneous. It could have been several minutes. It could have been several hours. And that's a chilling thought. I mean, obviously, to see a guy hopefully unconscious, if there's any humanity in the world, he died peacefully in that sense. But I couldn't help but go back to, Hoslong to die in the cold. And that it kind of takes on a new chilling meaning. I don't know that it will be that important in the grand things, but I think it will draw emphasis to the jury's consideration of that point. So the doctor hasn't even been crossed yet. She's not giving them a strong opinion about much of anything. And they're going to sit down tomorrow when she's done. And if a motion was made, it's not going to be granted. But I'll tell you what, it wouldn't be frivolous. It ought to be frivolous in a case like this. When you bring a murder case, most motions that are made in these cases are the defense makes an argument and they say, Your Honor, will rely on the record because there's really nothing credible to say. There's a lot to say in this motion. It won't be granted, as long as any view of the evidence, if taken at face value, supports what they're saying, it would never be granted. But this case just has no legs. And what I found perhaps even more interesting today was this guy Guarino, whatever his name is. And as I was driving today and I was listening to him try to essentially establish that John O'Keefe could not have gone in the house, and that's where he left it. And, there's people today who are claiming victory. I commented on this earlier just online. These are people who don't understand how trials work and don't understand how this process works. It's not winning a point, in a game of tennis. And they think today was a day we scored a point, and look at this. they have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt to a moral certainty that she's guilty. And in English, what that means is they have to destroy convincingly every single credible argument that the defendant makes that, if you accept it as plausible, could demonstrate doubt. And I just don't think they get that. And that's why I keep saying this case is over. The experts are coming. That's all that matters. They're going to say no car accident. I mean, I'm paraphrasing. They're not going to literally say that, but for all intents and practical purposes, they're going to say, you know, while I walk in to testify, let me pile up all my degrees and certificates over here, and 20 minutes later, sit down after you're done with my credentials and tell you what we did. It's a non-paid for opinion. It is the quintessential doomsday scenario for a prosecutor when qualified experts hired by another government agency come in and are thrown in the lap of the defense. This never happens. It never. So that's really what matters. But if you want to play the game about keeping score and who's winning each point, so here comes Guarino with the GPS stuff, which I assume they're going to rebut even more than Yannetti was poking at today, where the clocks weren't lined up the same and is using multiple programs and all of that. But, you know, I wear an Apple Watch, and I use the health app every day, and I look for, get the steps, get this. And the biggest thing, anyone who has an Apple Watch knows, the one thing you're always bitching and moaning about getting credit for are stairs. It's hard. You feel like you're getting screwed. You go up like 10 flights of steps and your thing says, maybe you get 4. There are times when you walk around and you're going up a slight incline, you look, you say, oh, I got credit for stairs. One thing I can assure you, I have never gotten credit for going upstairs is being in a car that's going uphill over any period of time. I don't know what the hell that is.
Yeah, no. I have it on my phone. I use it on my phone with my dog
and
walker.
you know, if you know, I could take my watch and just shake it back and forth and flip around and maybe I'll get a few steps. But this idea that because he's sitting in a car, that he's getting steps and stairs, I don't see it.
Doesn't work that way. I agree. I use it too.
But whatever traction he gained on that point, number one, it doesn't matter literally if John O'Keefe never went in the house. If he didn't, that doesn't prove guilt. It just would, if the jury credits that, it would negate the idea that, you know, someone in the house had him in the house and killed him. That has nothing to do with the accident reconstruction people who are going to say there's no car accident. More importantly, this guy today completely obliterated those key minutes in their timeline, which is a disaster because if you recall several weeks ago, I mean, I feel kind of prescient about this. I told you that I thought that those 3 amigos, we called them, were going to come back and be really, really, really important witnesses. And their importance today increased exponentially because they saw Karen there and they saw her leave. And the timeline doesn't fit with Jen McCabe claiming I'm waiting at 12:45 and I see her out there.
Exactly.
And they would have had to have been staring at this accident. That the timeline doesn't fit, and you know she's connecting to the home network across town at 12:36. So none of this makes any sense, and those 3 kids became a hell of a lot more credible. So that to me was the major takeaway. It, you know, they think they got a point on the GPS. We'll see. I don't know, maybe, but they've got problems with the forest through the trees. I mean, it's over with the experts. None of this ultimately is going to matter because the experts are the personification of reasonable doubt in a case like this, where the medical examiner can't even say that it was a homicide. She can't say it was the result of a car accident. She kind of is wishy-washy on, you know, whether it could have been from a significant fight. We've gone from no fight to no significant fight. None of this is going to matter.
Yeah, that's why I'm so like almost giggly, like smiley tonight. Because I just, like you said, you were precision. What was that word? Precision?
Prescient.
I know what it means. I know how to spell it. I don't know how to say it. But now I'm learning. But it's true. like on the show, like I feel like the coverage has been on the spot, and a lot of it is you, Mark, too, obviously. But it's like
I've done
it's
this a
just-
few times, so
Yeah.
it's not like it's not all prescience; it's experience in cases. And one last point, and then I'll stand down because I know Mazza has to get in. But we're having this conversation about all of this, and the defense hasn't done a damn thing yet. And it already feels like they have decimated 98% of the case simply through some cross-examinations and just prosecution witnesses throwing up all over themselves and contradicting each other. And they're just throwing witnesses out there to say whatever they're going to say. And you shouldn't be in a position where it already feels like the defense has won and they haven't done a thing yet.
Yeah. Wait till these witnesses, all of them, the Google experts, the experts we already know about that we've seen, the jury hasn't seen them, but we've seen them. And it's just going to be amazing to see. Mazza Media, you've also been, what's that word? Prescient?
Prescient, I believe. Yeah, I think that's what it is. So yeah, it's just ridiculous. He's up there today and he's talking about how driving your car up Cedar Crest Road to get to Fairview is going to emulate 3 floors worth of travel. It doesn't work that way. I walk all the time with my phone and I always look at my steps when I'm done.
It's
And
hard to get the staircases. It's hard.
It
You
is.
don't get them.
Yep.
Absolutely. It's ridiculous. And it's just another situation where they're just manifesting all these things. Look, it's evident that he did walk up 3 flights of stairs one way or another. Furthermore, the Apple Health data also clearly shows that he walked inside of the house, right within the location of the house. And they're just trying to always make it seem like, well, he wasn't, he never went in there. It could have been off. Well, it's not just off. It's never just off. Okay. 3 flights of stairs are 3 flights of stairs. Walking towards the house is definitely going to be in the house. And they're trying to make it seem like, well, it could be an error. It could have been actually that he was driving up Cedar Crest. Well, do you have proof of that? Do you have you guys maybe done your own emulation where you guys have driven your vehicle up that hill and verified that, well, look at that, it shows 3 floors? They haven't done that. So that's not submissible as evidence at all.
Can I give you like you'll appreciate this. This is a local reference. Patriot Place, you know it, in Foxborough.
Yep.
Those stairs, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh,
From
yes.
the field level to like where Red Robin and all that stuff is up there.
Right.
I always try to get staircases every time we go there, which is a couple times a year. We go up the steps. I don't take the elevator. Okay. Maybe you'll get three stairs, credit for 3 going up. What in reality is, you look at your watch and say, these Apple people should be giving me about 20 flights of steps for that. The idea that you're getting 3 for a hill in a car, I'm sorry. And again, that's not a scientific opinion, but they must realize that jurors are mostly common sense people and smart jurors. And, I was there. I saw the jury. They look like a pretty intelligent bunch, just in terms of the way they appear. They look like a just educated group of people, frankly.
I agree.
And a lot of them look like the kind of people who, not all of them, but who are physically fit and wear Apple Watches. And there's common sense involved in this. And if you don't think that there's going to be jurors to go back in there and with their Apple Watches and say, this doesn't make any sense.
Exactly.
The other thing from today that jumped out, I forgot to mention this. Okay, these phone calls and text messages. This is just the latest example of leading with your chin again. And this idea of what you should never, ever do, which is overpromise and underdeliver. And, the defense did the exact opposite in their opening. They underpromised, even though they promised a lot, and totally overdelivered as the Proctor stuff and whatnot came out. But these guys were talking about, from the DA side, this incredible motive of jealousy. And they've got you thinking as if she's going to leave a text message that says, I'm going to run you over and I can't wait. And when it's over, I'm going to dance around, over your body. I'm going to be so happy that I did it. And instead, what you saw, if you kind of take a step back and look at the whole mosaic, was, you know, problems in a relationship, problems of trust, and what appeared to be anger over, you left me with the kids, you're out having a good time, getting wasted, probably hanging out with women. There's clearly some anger and jealousy there, trying to grab his attention, leaving 50 phone calls, which, by the way, is totally normal, again, if you're trying to get them. And then these despondent calls about looking for him and where are you, and this nonsense online that I saw about is that you, as opposed to where are you? Are you kidding me? That makes no sense. Everything that these messages tend to show is someone who is looking for someone who didn't come home, and everything that occurred before sounds like normal, typical boyfriend, girlfriend, jealousy crap that you see all the time. How that translates into somehow indicating a motive to kill based on what happened in Aruba, just because there was a reference to her again, I think, right? That was the same girl. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So she's, you know, holding a grudge and bringing up, and she's peeling off an old scab, because that never happens in relationships, right? When you think it's all done and 3 weeks later, here it comes to dig you again with it. How is that establishing a credible motive for murder or anything? It makes no sense.
Yeah, it doesn't. What do you think, Mazza?
Well, it's just all, you know, they're
You
just
do-
trying to piece together whatever they can. It's like Karen said when she was, you know, in the police station. She said, you guys all in on it too, because they just took everything they could to try to manifest it. And Adam Lally spent a significant amount of time just trying to make a mountain out of a molehill, which is, like we've said, and I've heard other people say it online as well, is that it's all common relationship things oftentimes where couples fight. They're human beings. It's going to happen. There's no perfect marriage. There's no perfect relationship. Every couple is going to fight, argue, have disagreements. And that's pretty much the bottom line. And just they're trying to find anything they can to just sell Karen as this woman that's just totally out of her mind and that would back up her vehicle into John and kill him. And regardless of whatever they want to say, it's just not true. Karen clearly doesn't have any history of violence. Anyone that's seen her in person or seen her on camera can tell you that if you had to have a poll right now of the person that was least likely to ever commit murder on this planet, Karen would be right at the top of that poll as people that would never do something like that. She has her life together. She's always had it together. She's a smart, intelligent woman, and there's no reason why she would have ever decided to do anything of that nature. Beyond that, the Commonwealth has just been absolutely ridiculous from top to bottom. Look at everything they've done. They just try to make up Apple Health data excuses all the time. They bring in people from the Massachusetts State Police that don't know their ass from a hole in the ground and probably got their certifications at Clown University or at, some kind of just whatever. It's just a Holiday Inn. Did they go to some kind of Holiday Inn banquet hall and take a couple of courses there, in 24-hour period? It's just ridiculous. These people have tried to manifest the most ridiculous frame job that I've ever seen in my entire life. It's blatantly obvious. And if anybody can't see through it, I just don't know what to tell you at this particular point. But they try to get up there. And Adam Lally always, he's one step short of just saying, well, that proves it then. It proves nothing. Karen's factually innocent. The facts are on her side.
We need to talk about the scumbag of scumbag moves stunt that they tried to pull today with Karen Reed calling an attorney. And I have to go on a rant and wave the flag about the Constitution and the right to counsel and all of that. That was one of the most ridiculous things that you'll ever see in a courtroom, and just a complete stunt by the DA. And to do that with a straight face, knowing they're on TV and everyone's going to hear this, and to suggest that calling a lawyer, okay, knowing something was going on, Proctor had already called you, and to say that we want to introduce the mere fact that a person called a lawyer, a DWI lawyer, by the way, not a experienced homicide lawyer in terms of her Google search. That's a whole nother story. But the mere fact of somebody calling a lawyer for assistance, given the circumstances going on, in the eyes of the scumbags in the Norfolk DA's office, which they are. I mean, this is just outrageous that they would somehow offer that against a defendant in a murder trial as some degree of evidence of her consciousness of guilt as it related to presumably driving drunk and killing John O'Keefe. And then to suggest, this was even just off the charts crazy, to suggest that because she called a lawyer, that completely undermines their, one of the central premises of their defense, that the cops helped frame her, that, you know, the investigation was done properly because the jury should know, disregard all that, never mind the man behind the curtain again, that whole Wizard of Oz nonsense, because she hired a lawyer if she's guilty. They should be publicly shamed, disgraced. And even this judge is, I'm not surprised, by the way, because this would have been,
Yeah, this was the
that would
rare
have been,
occasion. Yeah, that she was like,
Well,
no way.
well, she had no choice. This would have been absolutely a reversed conviction if this nonsense was allowed in. But the scary part is that these people get up, actually have the balls with a straight face to say, you should allow us to do this. And then when they go back in chambers, and, you know, they could have withdrawn this quietly and dealt with this then, and the judge could have said, I'll tell you right now, forget it, and let's not have this come up. They have the guts in front of the TV cameras when everyone's watching to make this argument. And you could tell, I mean, listening to her circular argument, she kept repeating herself in a loop about 3 or 4 times. And finally, she just told Yannetti, stop talking because I'm going to rule in your favor and I don't want to listen to the speeches. And I get it. But he was right that this should be rubbed in their noses should be rubbed, you know, like you would do with a puppy they used to do in the pee in the old days. Every time you think about these people and want to take them seriously for their ethics, their good faith, this is all you need to know about how pathetic they are, that they would literally try to punish her and have her convicted for murder because she tried to call a lawyer after Proctor was digging around, calling her when she knew her boyfriend was dead. Ridiculous. Just absolutely ridiculous.
And it's so stupid too, because the double standard, like that I'll see online from people who will claim that, but they're friends or they defend Jennifer McCabe, Higgins, all these people that have lawyers. They all retained attorneys, from Proctor to Higgins to Brian Albert.
They all
have Jennifer
retained.
McCabe.
They
I
all
guess
retained.
they're all guilty. That
They
should be
all
proof that they're
retained.
guilty.
They all, little guest appearance there. They all retained attorneys who are competent and could have very easily made any number of public statements about get off my client's back, stop harassing them. But no, who made those statements? Michael Morrissey.
Yeah.
All you need to know about the Norfolk DA's office.
A few months ago, I did absolutely nothing wrong. And people are laughing at it now in a way because they're like, you actually did nothing wrong. What were you worried about? But I went and found a criminal defense attorney because just in case, because all the shit that was happening. And I think it was a very smart move. And I did nothing legally wrong.
People consult lawyers all the time for any number of reasons. And if there's reason to fear that someone may be coming after you, you may not have done anything wrong, but are you equipped to know how to handle it? No.
Exactly.
I mean, there's nothing to be read in it. And that's why, you know, you would hear a judge's instruction, like when a defendant doesn't testify, you should draw nothing about that. But it's basically black letter law that you can't comment on somebody's mere fact of speaking with an attorney. The same way you can't, you know, in the phone records discuss that someone hired an attorney. And then they try, if I understand, I was driving, so I wasn't watching, but the DA tries to wrap it around by a case that they cited about somebody who in a gun case went online and Googled how to get a gun. And they compare that to someone saying, I need a lawyer because a police officer was trying to call me. They should, this is just disgraceful. They have no shame. And this is why I keep telling you, there's zombie prosecutors. They're just going to keep coming back until until the jury says so. They're just going to throw anything and everything out there. And it's shameful.
Got a bunch of questions for Mark. One person's asking if you would ever consider being a judge, and another one wants to know if you'll ditch the parade if the defense calls Kevin Albert.
No and no.
You got your answers, people.
No chance on either.
Yeah, you have to go to the parade. We just saw why. I mean, if
You just saw why at this point, right?
you'd be in big trouble if you.
We're here. We're here. That ship sailed.
Here's another question. Do you know the time Higgins left the McAlberts?
No, I can't keep much of the timeline straight on a day-to-day basis other than
most important stuff. Yeah.
Well, I mean, today, look, we know the guy opened on 12:45. And by the way, that's not evidence. And that's important that people need to recognize. What you say in an opening statement is not evidence. They're not even allowed to write down in their notebooks like stuff in the opening because it's not evidence. But on the other hand, they hear it, right? I mean, presumably some of them heard it. And it's just another indication of how woefully unprepared this prosecutor appears to be, because the timeline ought to be so critical. It's such a narrow window for them to have this happen the way that they want to happen and for nobody to see it. And the reality is it makes that argument so much harder for them that nobody saw this guy lying dead on the lawn after. It's just crazy. I mean, the people that should have seen it should have been the three amigos.
Yeah. The three amigos didn't see it. They're good people. I think they're the best people out of all of them.
I mean, I don't go back and rewatch what we already watched like I know some people do. I don't have time for that. But didn't at least one, possibly two, and maybe even three of them say that we kind of like came in at the same time as her, and there was a man in the car?
Yeah.
So that man was John O'Keefe, and then she left alone because they saw her in the car with the light on, and she just drove off normally. They were both there. Nobody saw her back up, do anything. Nobody saw anything crazy, and nobody saw a body lying in the lawn. So take that fact, add that to the ARCA guys coming in, and then when you see all these people online talking about, oh my God, what an outstanding day for the prosecution, it's all scales of relativity. I mean, maybe it's less embarrassing for them that they got something, but you're not getting over that hurdle. How are they going to get over that?
Question here. How long do you think the closing statements will take?
God, I don't know. I mean, I would say for a case like this, an hour and a half would be the right amount. Of course, that's an hour and a half of riveting summation. If it's an hour and a half for Lally, it's probably an hour and 29 minutes too long for your sanity to listen to. But, I don't know how long he's going to drone on for, but I mean, there's a lot of loose threads to tie together. And that's another important thing too, is everybody's looking at this as like one fact in isolation every day. And when you have a real lawyer like Jackson and his team, that they're going to put this all together and make it all make sense in the context of reasonable doubt, I expect it's going to be incredible.
Awesome. I can't wait to see that close.
That'll be must-watch TV. Yeah.
Yeah.
For lawyers too. I mean, you want to see lawyers like that close on a case like this.
That's a problem with going there, because I know I'm not going to be able to get in court unless I like arrange it ahead of time, and I think it's going to be hard now. I think everyone's going to want to fill those seats for the last. So it's like if you go, you kind of like you'll probably be watching in the parking lot, I guess, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I almost feel like I'd rather watch it at home. I don't know, but I want to celebrate with the people after it's over. It's a tough call.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but the summations, I would guess an hour and a half. Anything longer than that is probably too much, especially for the prosecution, because I mean, let's just be honest. It's boring beyond belief. And if it's anything at all remotely similar to the opening, then that's not good.
Would the prosecution go first in the final closing arguments?
I believe in Massachusetts, they go first and last. You know,
Okay.
traditionally the party with the burden of proof goes last. So, but
Mhm.
different states and the feds do it differently. I believe in Massachusetts, they go first, the defense goes, and then they get a short rebuttal. New York is kind of a, you know, crazy state. In New York, the defense goes first and the prosecution goes second, but there's no rebuttal. But I would think it would be prosecution, defense, prosecution.
Going to be wild. And tomorrow we're expecting Lucky Loughran, and who knows after that if they have another, because now it's
Well,
a full day tomorrow. It's a full day
they
tomorrow.
seem to be suggesting that they're moving quicker than you might have thought. So I don't even know if they would call anyone else other than Celebrate type, or, you know, technology people, accident reconstruction people, and Dr. Russell, who will make her reappearance and meet the jury, and a medical examiner. Other than that, I heard you guys talking about Morrissey last. I watched your thing last night. That was very good, by the way. The whole panel, that was really solid. But when you guys were talking last night about, well, will Morrissey testify? No way. I mean, you could make an argument that the whole Proctor thing, but if you're the defense, enough. Like, you're
Exactly.
not going down.
I would think it'd be more likely Berkowitz, but even him, I don't think he's going to get called either. I think you're right. I think it's going to be those experts. That's it. Like, what do you
There
mean?
must
Well,
be an
lucky.
issue with Berkowitz because, to be honest with you, that's a strange no call. I mean, that's somebody I think you do call. That's kind of a strange thing. And they have given no indication that they are. And I wonder if he's just either hiding or sicker than people thought. But even if he's sick, you could take a deposition and do it that way. But the interesting thing about Berkowitz is, and I know we're in a kangaroo court where the rules of evidence are optional depending on the whim of the judge at any given moment. But my recollection is way back when that there was testimony that Berkowitz recovered a piece of that the taillight
Evidence. Yeah.
but it was just classic hearsay where it was either Lank or one of those guys. Hey, Berkowitz told me he found this. That's hearsay. I mean, that's rank hearsay. Shouldn't have been admitted. But yet there it is. So I don't know.
Yeah. Berkowitz. I mean, I think it's well known that Berkowitz found taillight. He was the last one to find taillight, just driving by.
3 guys just happened to be driving by, and evidence revealed itself to each of them on different occasions. I wonder if those guys play the ponies and do well, because that's really.
Yeah, seriously.
And then was he there at the Sally Port? It seems like he was. And
Well,
he's afraid of Brian Higgins. That's another rumor.
He apparated into the Sally Port, but none of us really know if he,
Right.
if he's a wizard or is, he
Huh.
looks like a muggle, but apparently he's a wizard because there he was.
And then he called that reporter to the first reporter that broke
See,
the news that
that's a
Brian
big
Higgins house.
point. I mean, that's another reason why, if you're gonna try to connect these people as one big incestuous Canton crew, that is remarkable. I mean, if they had evidence of him literally protecting Brian Albert by calling a reporter and saying, take his name out of the story. I mean, who the hell does that?
Yeah. Turtle Boy reported that. And he's got the reporter. Like, that definitely did happen. Like, he basically called a reporter to bully him and say, it'd be nice if you removed Brian Higgins' name from this story.
Right.
This was before anyone really had any suspicions. They raised the suspicions by the cover up. It's so funny, isn't it?
Yeah. Somebody has a good question up there about what she said about the lawyer. If the door is opened, the only way the door could really be opened is if Karen testified and said something stupid, which is a non-starter, because I mean, obviously her and her lawyers will make that determination. But I would say that at this point, the Dallas Mavericks have a better chance of winning the finals that are over than she does of testifying. It would be stunning beyond belief if she testified. I mean, it's just not going to happen. I don't know that, obviously, but why would you do that? So I don't know how that door would ever get opened in terms of, her calling an attorney.
Got quite a few comments coming in. 8,000 people watching on YouTube right now. Wow. The storm is over. I got no more thunder. Are you guys
Yes,
good
we
right
have
now?
it now. Metro West. It's yeah.
Now you're getting it.
Yeah.
Thunder free.
That's good. I hope everyone's being safe.
There is a
thunder
storm
and lightning.
coming. It's the feds coming for all the people that perpetrated this. That's the storm that's coming next.
Yeah, and I hope everyone's cool with me on the super chats. I try to do my best on putting them all on the screen. Some people don't like them on the screen. It's so funny.
I think the only thing that's lacking with your super chats is a super chat song, like the
Oh, we need a
glare.
song. Yeah, but we get so many of them lately. So that that will change later, probably. I don't think we're all. Someone just said peak young jerks. Like this may be it tonight. We're like at a peak moment. It's hard to keep up. I want to thank our mods too. I at one point when Mark was talking, you asked me something. I just said yes because I was trying to slow down the chat for our mods. It gets too busy for them, and they end up, hitting the wrong button. So hopefully the mods are cool. I want to thank the 3 women who are the moderators on our chat on YouTube. Thank you so much, MJ, Jen, and Stephanie. Maz, do you have any comments, questions? What are you thinking? I'll make sure I get you in.
Yeah, I mean, we got the doctor on the stand later tonight at the end of the day, and just her comments really, that probably set me off. I mean, a lot of things set me off today, and I was kind of pretty subdued all day mostly, but the thing that set me off the most was Dr. Irene Scorti-Bello, who's a medical examiner, who remarks, quote, "I didn't see any signs major of what I would have called a significant altercation." Excuse me, I didn't see any signs, major signs of what I would call a significant altercation. That was the most ridiculous comment that any medical examiner could have ever made. It's clear when you look at anybody that's going to potentially get hit by a vehicle in a hypothetical situation, if they were knocked to the ground, grass or not, that their body would have sustained wounds to the shoulders, the hips, the back, the rear, other parts of their lower back, upper back, all that. And how can you not, as a medical examiner, questioning her and her opinion, ever think that there was no signs of an altercation? If someone gets punched in the head, first and foremost, even if he had been backed into in a hypothetical situation by a vehicle, it would not have hit his head. Brian from LTL told us he was about 6 feet tall and posed next to a vehicle, the similar vehicle, and showed that basically he wouldn't have been hit in the head. In this hypothetical situation, it's the same thing here. He would have been knocked to the ground, and his body would have had bruising all over it potentially. It wouldn't be bruising to the eyes, a laceration to the back of the head, an arm that looked like he had been attacked by a wolf, for goodness sakes. That for a medical examiner to go up there and say these things, there was a body language individual or someone that cited some body language. They examined the video, basically. I don't know if it was a certified person or not, but they made a good point. When she was on the stand, she presented a certain amount of poise. But then as soon as she started to talk about that, she started to get a little antsy in her seat, move around a little bit, start to get a little bit suspicious in my particular opinion, at least by my observation. And when I heard that comment, that was the moment where I said, you know what the WTF is she talking about? You saw no signs of an altercation at all. Like David Inetti once said a year ago, he looked like he had been in a fight with Mike Tyson. You look at those arm wounds and you think that came from taillight? Anybody who thinks that, come on, folks, get real. It's clear as day when you look at the way those wounds are on his arms, that those are clearly German Shepherd claws and teeth.
So a couple things. One, I think her answer is a little clever and it's semantics, but here's the beauty. There's been no cross yet. And, cross-examination of experts often takes the form of hypotheticals, and it's appropriate when it may not be appropriate with other witnesses. And so the question is, I hate to say this, but like what the meaning of the word is kind of analysis. So she says there's no evidence of a major altercation. Well, I mean, would you call it a major altercation if people are arguing verbally and then somebody takes a tire iron and smashes them in one blow in the back of the head and, you know, causes that kind of injury and that person dies? Doctor, would you call that a major? I mean, what does that even mean? So, and of course, her answer, I think, is a little different than what she said originally. Correct? Right? Am I right? Remember that we had that whole thing where she said, I can't give you a manner of death, but it wasn't, you know, no fight or whatever it was. So, you know, she's gotten a little shifty on that, but I think when there's some cross-examination about this, she's going to have to acknowledge that somebody could, that kind of blow could be consistent with a weight bench, I think, is the obvious hypothetical here.
And they have one in that
a tire iron, or smack one punch, and then the guy hits the ground, splits his head, whatever. And her answer is going to have to be sure. She's not going to say no, right? I mean, she can't be that dense and that much in the tank. So I think it's another example of you have to wait for the cross, and she's kind of exposed herself on that because, I mean, she clearly has said that that injury was a contributing factor to the death, but she also said, I can't really tell you how it got there. And the fact that she can say it could be, the other one anyway, said it could be consistent with a car accident. I'm sure they're going to say it could be consistent with getting whacked by a weight bench, an iron, any object, whatever. The other thing is, I don't believe, and if I'm wrong on this, someone will correct me, because I was driving during some of this too. I don't believe she has been questioned about, other than describing what many people think are the dog bites and scratches. That's interesting. Who did that? That's clever.
I know. Is that weird? Is that a new thing?
That was interesting.
I don't know if the audience saw that, but we just saw like on our StreamYard, we saw this little,
I'm
like
thinking,
a thumbs up.
Hard here.
Someone's hacked into us.
So she said there are, you know, striations and in a linear fashion, but I don't believe there's any testimony about her opinion on whether that's consistent with, you know, what I call the magic exploding polycarbonate taillight or anything else. And I would expect them to, meaning the defense, to take the ridiculous analysis of Trooper Paul and throw that in her face and say, are you going to sign up for that? Does that make sense to you? At least the medical part. I mean, she can't get into the other, you know, bouncing around the ground and pirouetting and all that crazy stuff. But, and then she'll be asked, I assume, about whether an animal could have done that. And is she going to say that's impossible? I mean, you know, the defense is going to have an expert who's going to say, I wrote the book literally on dog bite analysis, and I believe those are dog bites. And if the best cross-examination and summation against her is that she's 70 years old and hasn't practiced regularly in 20 years and somehow threw herself into the case, I mean, that's fair cross-examination, but I don't think that's going to outdo the fact that I literally wrote the book on dog bites. And not only am I telling you that I think these are dog bites, I'm telling you why. And they're not going to have anybody to rebut that.
And I like she's pointing out what we've all seen, what the Maz has talked about, what we've all, you can see the cluster of bites, like on the elbow, you can see that, you know, so she points them out. And the jury's going to look at that and say, yeah, that makes sense. Like, I really think that she's onto something, and it's obvious why. So,
and also, I mean, again, you go back to the burden of proof. They don't have to prove their dog bites. All they need is someone on the jury to say, you know what?
Could be.
You know, that kind of looks like, where's the dog? This and that. And all of a sudden, you know, well, wait a minute. McCabe said, you know, she was looking at the car at 12:45, and, you know, maybe she was the one doing, I mean, she's denied everything. I didn't delete anything. I didn't do the Google search. I didn't, I never said anything other than she told me she hit him, even though she said 12 times in the grand jury or whatever it was. The other thing, and again, summation, all this gets put together in a nice presentation, and the reasonable doubt in this case is suffocating. It's not just a little. I mean, all the oxygen in this case is gone. There's none left, and it's suffocating.
It's so gone. They're doing a condensed defense because I don't need much of a defense here. They've already won the case. It seems like anyone who's paying attention to it. The U.S. attorney said they can't, in good conscience, let this go to trial before the TWE docs were released to both sides in February. Thoughts? Well, they said they, basically they said they can't do it in good conscience without releasing the doc, which they did.
A couple of thoughts, one of which in no particular order is it's good that they all got lawyers because they're probably not done and they're going to at least have to play that dance again with the feds. But two, it goes back to the just complete lack of ethics and conscience and use of prosecutorial discretion by the people in the Norfolk DA's office. I mean, the idea that whatever the rivalry between Norfolk and the feds is, that's all nonsense. That's not the point. The point is when the feds come in out of concern for the due process rights of a defendant accused of murdering a police officer, and they basically say, we can't allow this to go to trial, and we're going to extend two large middle fingers and say, we're going to basically give them the evidence that's going to guarantee her acquittal, which they did. I mean, the ARCA witnesses that's the headshot. That's end of the case. That tells you that they know this is wrong. And I'd be really concerned because it would make me think, what else do they know? Because if there's no chance that they gave them everything, no chance. Anything that's still like an active part of their investigation that they're not ready to release. Also, things that they don't want the DA to know. Again, I don't know what part of this investigation they are, or whether they're afraid that they would tip off other people that are targets or subjects of the investigation. So I think they gave the defense stuff that would pretty much guarantee an acquittal, but God knows what else there is. And as far as I know, the only two prosecutors' offices who would look the feds in the eye and laugh at them when they do this are the Norfolk DA's office and my old friend in the Brooklyn DA's office who did it in that FBI agent case that I told you about. And if you recall, that case didn't even make it to verdict before that blew up in their face. I think these people are going to make it to verdict, but not much more.
So someone was just asking, do you think they've done this before with someone who couldn't afford a good lawyer in Norfolk County?
I mean, that's always the concern. I mean, stuff comes to light when the big guns and the resources are available. What happens when somebody has a lawyer with no resources or legal aid who is unable, thank you for that, unable to do that? I mean, this is so brazen in so many ways. It's kind of hard to believe this is the first time, right? I mean, there's so much evidence that is at best inconclusive, at worst points directly away from Karen Read. The feds are telling them you're crazy. They're giving the defense all the materials. They know all this bad evidence. And here they are. It's so brazen and so crazy. You have to think that this is not the first time they've done something a little underhanded and with people that were not in the news, because that's the crazy thing. If you're willing to do this on the big case that everyone's watching, if you don't think it's happening when nobody's paying attention,
That's right.
Please.
Yep. You're kidding yourself if you don't believe it. That's for sure.
Another question came in. What do you think about the judge not wanting to let the FBI guys talk about medical observations?
Mixed feelings. That technically is proper. I mean, they're not doctors. If they have a sufficient opinion with their skill set to say that the car doesn't match this and vice versa, I think that's fine, but you can't help but then scratch your head and say, well, how the hell did Trooper Paul give an opinion on anything other than the fact of whatever day of the week it was? Because he wasn't qualified to do anything. He's the worst expert you'll ever see in your life. He is the quintessentially unqualified expert, and no one, well, the court had no problem with anything he said, and was actually entertaining, if you recall this, seriously entertaining, having him from the hip, off the cuff, say, well, I watched a video and I can tell you, in my opinion, that car didn't cause the other car to get any damage because I watched a video 2 seconds after he said, I don't even think they touched. So, I mean, if we're going to be in a kangaroo court where the rules of evidence are optional, at least do what athletes say. Call it evenly for both sides, even if you're going to call it wrong. And she's not, but that's part of the bias, I think, that people see.
Good comment here. It's funny how multiple independent databases celebrate Apple key cycles are only unreliable at critical times in this case.
Listen, all of this is silly. And then even this guy today, he missed all the McCabe searches. He was very feisty and kind of smarmy in his demeanor with Yannetti. And, you know, when he had a PDF of his records, well, I don't know. I'm not going to comment on that because how do I know? You know, he didn't bring his own files with him, right? These are all major tells of something going on, okay? When a purportedly experienced, diligent, intelligent cop shows up to testify in a case like this on cross-examination and didn't bring the important files, that's a red flag that he's playing games, and then doesn't want to acknowledge that the copy you have is real. So I don't know. That's very sketchy. And if he's such an expert on cell phone records, how did he miss the McCabe searches? I just, you know, we talked about the Apple Watch stuff. I'll be curious to see how they handle the GPS stuff to try to debunk the claim that he was making, which is that by common sense, unless John O'Keefe was the Flash, he couldn't have gone in the house. That's what he says.
Another question. Do you notice how many times Judge and Lally asked the contractors needing the ARCA guys if they only used evidence listed? I thought they were probing whether the feds had evidence the Commonwealth wasn't aware of.
It's an interesting theory. Could be, but I also think that they are fishing around, just trying to see what is there any way to attack their opinion? Were they given information that was leading? I mean, that's the irony. They have no problem when Proctor and Uri are browbeating the medical examiner, basically doing everything but, you know, telling her what to write. And then when she doesn't do it, they call each other stupid and her a whack job. But when it comes to the professionals, you know, they're fully prepared to make the same argument that was going to be made against them. I mean, look, what the bottom line is, he didn't even attempt to cross-examine the ARCA guys or Dr. Russell really about the basis of their opinion and to try to learn anything. And she said over there, the defense objection, I'm going to let them Lally ask anything he wants. That's part of the punishment, if you will. And this guy just punted on it. He turned down free discovery.
I jumped ahead and hit this one. I didn't even mean to, but we'll ask the question. In Chicago, I guess they elect coroners. Could that make a difference in a court case when ME are in the witness box?
Not in a case like this, but I mean, I think anytime someone is an elected official who is beholden to the will of the voters, that can cloud judgment by doing this, where the wind's
Finger
blowing.
in the wind. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean,
I wonder if they're qualified. Like, that's the thing about coroners. You kind of like want someone qualified, and sometimes
absolutely
campaigns are just name recognition and who people like. And
right. No, the idea of a doctor running for office to be like the main guy, I mean, that sounds unseemly. I mean, you're right. You just want a fair medical evaluation without anything other than pure
No
science.
bias. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's another one. Got a lot of questions coming in. When Karen is acquitted, do you think the McAlberts will make good on the gift to Proctor's wife? She might need it.
Listen, they should gift her some shekels for a retainer for an attorney if they want it to be nice, I guess. No, I don't think the gift will be coming. I think Proctor's wife is got other problems and is still trying to defend him. And, you know, when this trial's over, he's going to get fired. And, you know, they have real world problems they have to deal with because he's going to be fired and he's going to be unemployable and he's going to be the poster child for the scandal, which is going to follow the Massachusetts State Police for the foreseeable future. And Proctor is the poster child. He's not done with the front page of the Herald. He's got a few more in him coming.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know that.
Oh, yeah.
So-
This isn't over, too. When the trial's
No.
over, it's not really over.
No,
people.
the state police thing is real. This is just, I mean, it's bad enough you have them, you know, laughing about looking for nudes and other things. They're all a bunch of, you know, or not all, that's not fair, but a lot of these guys just seem like Neanderthals. And then as if none of this is bad enough, just to make the cartoon complete, you know, here comes Deputy Dog, you know, Trooper Paul with his expert opinion, where you just look at him and say, my God, I mean, did you draw the short straw? Like, how did this even happen? Is it like a remedial thing in the state police to say you're not real police, so we're going to send you to the accident reconstruction squad? I don't know. But he wasn't prepared to offer an opinion. He wasn't qualified, and he knew it. And the reason you knew that he knew it, because he looked like he was 2 minutes away from throwing up on the front of his uniform or his suit or whatever he was wearing. You don't see police officers come into court and look that nervous where they can't even hold the laser pointer and he's missing the point he wants to point at by 3 inches because he's shaking like a leaf. That's nerves because he knows I'm out of my depth here.
Yeah, this scandal, too, all of this is not going away. It's just going to get bigger because there's so much media now involved. Like NBC Boston is doing something on Michael Proctor tonight. You got Howie, you got Grace Curl, you got, I could go on and on. There's so many people on this now. Yeah, and the people.
Wait till there's an acquittal, okay? And then, you know, Karen Reed and her attorneys decide now we can really talk.
Yeah.
Okay?
I can't wait till they can come on these shows. Like I can't wait to have a conversation with them on this show with you. That's gonna Basil. It's gonna be amazing.
That would be I'd very much.
Reed,
I will say
the father, the mother. Like
I'm fair and honest about this stuff. I don't like her talking to the press, frankly. Like during even she doesn't say stupid things, by the way, but you saw she got some bad attention for it's not a good. I don't think that's what she should be doing. But whatever, it's not like she says anything bad. But when the gloves come off and there's no legal jeopardy, man, if I were some of these other people, because these are not dumb people, these are not dumb lawyers, and to a man and woman, and I'm talking the lawyers, the client, the family, the supporters, they're all pissed. And right now, you know, she's still technically in legal jeopardy. When that disappears, it's only going to get worse and worse and worse.
Yep. It's like I've long said, I don't think this thing's even peaked yet. We could be peaking and down the road when it really starts to explode.
I mean, that for the court period, I think this is the beginning of the end. So I think this is a peak period, but I agree long term. But I think what Haley just posted, John O'Keefe, Sandra Birchmore, Justin Root, there's been a lot of instances of weirdness within Norfolk County. And I would hope to see like the Boston Globe start doing maybe a spotlight series on Norfolk County.
They should. And, you know, it's also good because that is a good comment and that's true. But that's also important to recognize. The feds are not looking to solve the murder case. That's not what they do. If it gets mixed up in what they're doing They're not going to ignore it. But what they do is they investigate corruption. Okay. So the primary targets of this are going to be the state police, potentially the Canton police. Now, if the Alberts get kind of entrenched in that, they become involved. But the reason the feds would show up in the first instance is because too many weird things are happening in the Norfolk DA's office and the state police liaisons or whoever they are that are working out of their office. And, it's not just one case. And, if it was one case, they may not be in there. I'm gonna mute for 1 second.
Okay, no worries. I can help you too on that if you need it. Oh, you got it. Cool.
Would you kids quiet down?
Yeah, it's totally fine.
That's basically what I said. Yes.
Sometimes it's me with the dogs.
Yeah. I don't have the dogs here to show off tonight, but importantly, the feds are looking at corruption. That's what they do. This kind of stuff, and that should worry a lot of people, especially given what a shit show this trial is turning out to be, which I'm sure they knew was going to be the case. And it's turned into a fiasco when you're at the part of the case where the DA should have the high water. I mean, they should have the high mark. I mean, they've dictated everything that's happening. They're supposed to be way ahead right now. And instead, they're so far behind that you have a few loonies, again, celebrating when something...
Can we talk about the loonies again? I want to bring up one loony
before
comment.
we do. Yes, because I need to get
loonies.
I need Wendy time tonight.
Okay,
but you have because I want to bring up Kevin for a second. Kevin made a prediction the other day that the dog bite doctor would not be allowed in. We said that she would be, but she'd be limited. Who was right?
Yeah,
we were.
We were. Oh, sorry, Kev. Kev's always wrong. We're always right.
I believe
that trend lately.
He was
secondary failure.
Somebody posted something earlier today too, that he was lecturing his people, giving the legal analysis that the judge is going to allow the fact that Karen Reed called an attorney in, and I finally blocked that guy, so I don't see it. Whatever.
Wrong on that too, right?
My response to that person was, this is why he needs to stay out of the legal sandbox and stay in the attic. Okay. He has zero clue what he's talking about. And if he was and he has no self-awareness because he's a moron, but he thinks everyone else is a moron. And if he had even asked a friendly lawyer to his cause, okay, 100%, 100 out of 100 lawyers would have told you there is no way in hell that's appropriate or coming in. But,
he's too smart. He's smarter than any attorneys.
Yeah.
I mean, he has that Kevin Mahoney on. I can't believe Mahoney didn't even pick up on that. I don't know what Mahoney said about it, but geez, like you'd think he might get a clue. Like that was so obvious that
I don't know Mahoney. I mean, he has good credentials,
I don't know what he said about it, but Kevin, either Kevin's not listening to Mahoney. I don't know. I have no idea because the statements he makes on Twitter are just so outrageously wrong and stupid.
No, he's a disaster.
You want to talk about Windy World too?
Yeah.
We need a Wendy World song. Wendy World. Welcome to Wendy World. There you go.
So let's start with the kind of funny, ridiculous one first, which the second one of the day, where she said this is the strongest vehicular homicide case in Massachusetts state history.
Oh my God.
Okay, so it's just another nominee for
How would she even know? Like, does she know every vehicular homicide case in the history?
She knows nothing. That's the point.
She's never done a case, right?
No,
like a vehicular homicide.
Blowhard, anything. So it's normally you'd say that's just the latest leader in the clubhouse for her, stupid tweet of the year kind of thing. But this thing earlier today, where she basically said this case is over and the only way out of this is if, Karen Reed hires a hitman to kill the jurors. And I don't want to give any ideas.
What an insane
that is like
it's scary.
She should be investigated for that. Okay. Now, by the way, let's bring in the rest of her, sane family for a minute. Can you imagine if you, okay, who gets accused by her lunatic son of threatening people when there's nothing to support that he cites? He just makes shit up, but he gets all kinds of righteously indignant and, oh my God. Can you imagine if somebody he didn't like made a joke about killing jurors? In fact, somebody the other day, I believe, made a comment about something really stupid about Jennifer McCabe, which was inappropriate. I saw somebody made a dumb comment like, I want to put a bullet in her head, something like dumb.
Yeah,
Shouldn't
so
do it.
I know I heard that one. Yeah, tweeted
And
something.
you know, internet police officer Grant, you know, oh my God, and this should be reported. And but when his own mother, okay, is talking about the defendant executing jurors, she should be investigated. The court staff should be notified. And more importantly, the bar association, you know, the people, the disciplinary committee. I don't know what they call that in Massachusetts. I think it's like the BBO or something, board of
Yeah.
bar,
I mean,
whatever.
Didn't we all like report her at some point?
Yeah,
Didn't
that's
we
what I
all,
was
like,
saying. Since they like to call the cops on people all the time.
No, this is the one you report.
Now, maybe
No,
Devon
I'm saying
police
we
need to
didn't.
be
I'm saying,
called.
didn't we do that? Didn't we already do that like 6-7 months ago, and nothing ever came of it or something? Didn't there something go around where everyone was reporting her? I think so.
Crazy.
I mean, look, it's that is so far over the top.
The BBO.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would notify them. I mean, she's literally suggesting, and then, you know, she'll try to say it's in jest. But I mean, if somebody walked into a courthouse and said, "Oh my God, somebody should shoot the jurors," do you think they're going to treat that as a joke?
Yeah, seriously.
You should.
No.
Yeah.
You know, people get all kinds of crazy ideas about politicians, and the FBI bangs on their door, right? I mean, she's clearly unfit, and it's not like her first inappropriate one. She has called Karen Reed's lawyers maggots, and you know, that was to her friend Coffindaffer, by the way, who
the trespasser.
who was so courageous enough to say that's inappropriate. I'm kidding, of course. She mused about Karen Reed getting raped in prison.
Yeah.
Now she's joking about Karen Reed trying to execute jurors. And then, I don't want to give her any ideas. I mean, it's disgusting. She is absolutely disgusting. She is just a vile human being, the worst person in this profession. And she ought to be shunned. She ought to be investigated. She ought to be just find another career, because she just gives lawyers the worst name.
I would hope the Boston media, some of them like WGBH that aired her, would start investigating her and reporting on her craziness, because, you know, their lack of credibility is a lot to do with airing people like her. Court TV, like
I sent it to Court TV in New England Law School and said, "This is your this is your star."
Yeah.
Whatever, they'll do something or they won't, but people should know. I mean, she's not hiding it. She's blasting it to, you know, the 37 people that haven't blocked her or been blocked by her. So
we get a question. What do you think of Auntie Bev limiting Dr. Wolf's testimony?
There's no reason for it. I mean, I don't think it's going to matter. I mean, practically speaking, these guys are going to say anything that says that, in our view, the car doesn't match the body, or, you know, the physical condition and the scene. And we tried to construct this as best we could, and it doesn't fit. You know, whether he says that to a 98% of available evidence as opposed to 88%, there's no rebuttal for these witnesses. What is Lally going to do in a rebuttal case? I'll tell you what the answer is: nothing. Because this is another, by the way, this was the conversation between Yellow Cottage Idiot and Coffindaffer the other day. They were having this conversation about getting rebuttal witnesses and like, it doesn't work that way. You can't just go get one now. And more importantly, I've got a great idea. If you had a good one, how about you use it in your case in chief?
Yeah.
That, you know, just a thought. They don't have one. They're not going to be able to get one. And they're not going to call Paul back to to rebut this. I loved, by the way, what Jackson said the other day about they have their qualified expert. I mean, you could just the insincerity and digging in that what appeared to be compliment was pretty
Obvious.
good. Yeah. Yeah.
If Lally tries to argue the Archer experts' conclusions are based on limited biased information, does that open the door for the defense to bring up the feds in their independent investigation?
I wouldn't go that far, but it could open the door to what information they had. And I mean, it wouldn't, their opinion can only be based on what they did. Now, if Lally, well, would it change your opinion if you knew this? And he wants to be a dope and start informing the jury that, there are things that you weren't provided with that he knows about. I think if he does that, again, very intelligent jury. I know that with my own eyes and seeing them. He's probably telegraphing to at least a few of them, some of whom are lawyers, as you know, that we're all talking about the FBI here, which I believe they already will know anyway once they hear that these reports were gift wrapped to the defense. So this is a lose-lose for Lally. I mean, how do you fix? You can't fix this. You have no rebuttal witnesses. Everyone's going to know they're FBI experts, and you're not even going to be able to argue that these are defense witnesses who were given a big fat check to say whatever we want to say. I mean, that's the usual argument when you have nothing else. They literally have nothing to cross-examine these people with. What's he going to say? But Trooper Paul says this. It's actually worse that he called Paul, because all it does is show what a juxtaposition there is between the useless expert he has and how qualified they are. And if you're a juror, aren't you wondering, saying, why aren't these guys testifying for the DA? Because they don't agree with the DA. I see.
Exactly.
That's not good.
Not good.
Pretty bad, even. Let's be honest.
Pretty bad. Yeah.
Well, that's, as we said, it vaporizes the whole case. It really does.
This person wanted to, I love this point too, because the Mass State Police expert, I think he's talking about, is Guarino, is he didn't look at the data until there was a confirmed, defense report about it.
I thought that was effective, that it was only when, Richard Green, I think his name is, that when they had a report, all of a sudden they're all scrambling to come up with some kind of explanation, and they're there. I mean, don't you have this picture of like Guarino and Proctor running over to 34 Fairview with all these tools they don't understand and tape measures? And I mean, that's what it sounded like. I mean, it sounded like literally a bunch of tools, literally and figuratively, tools with tools, trying to, take a tape measure from the front door of Brian Albert's home to, well, I think the body was just about here, so let's call it, 72 feet or whatever it was. It just sounds about as unscientific as it could.
We're getting super chats now about Grant and Wendy. I'll just put them up. I don't even need to read that one. Here's another question. Attorney Bederow, what are your thoughts on what that is next for the feds after the verdict?
I think it really depends on what do they know now. Again, they turned over 3,000 pages or thereabouts, and there's no way that was everything. So the real question is, what are they holding back? And if they know something already, then it's only going to get better. If it's like purely investigating now with nothing to work on, I don't know if they're ever going to get much, other than if they want to, bring some small perjury cases against Higgins, Proctor. I think Higgins and Proctor would be the two likeliest right now, depending on what shakes out with the Google searches and deletions. Because if there's clear evidence that McCabe made the Google search and also deleted her other calls that were clearly deleted, then I think she would also be subject to something pretty bad, because she really was adamant that she did nothing, which to me makes no sense. But
Got
the rest of them, I don't know.
Yeah. We got a question. I want to go to Mazza too at first because I want to ask him his thoughts on this. How long do you think the jury will deliberate, Mazza?
I think it's going to be done. I'll put it this way: if they go to deliberation in the morning, say like by 10 o'clock, I would not be shocked if by 4 o'clock that same day, if they had it all in the bag. I would say probably, I'll say this, probably no less than 4 hours and no more than 3 days, somewhere in that range, on a
What do you
very,
think?
very extended basis. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think, Attorney Bederow?
Depends what time of day they get the case, and if it's in the morning, whether they want to wait for the free lunch or not. If they want the free lunch, then, you know, I think it takes a little longer. I mean, realistically, it probably comes that the length of it comes down to whether there are a few people who, for whatever reason, just want to flesh it out more. I mean, I think it's easy for us to predict analytically because we just can, but we don't know what they're thinking. But I would be stunned if anybody, once they understand what reasonable doubt is, the legal definition of it, whatever they think happened or didn't happen, that they would be stuck on this concept of, well, I am satisfied that they have proven it to a moral certainty. I mean, that language is so awful for the DA. I don't know where else other than Massachusetts they still use that. I mean, that's probably like from like the puritanical Salem witch trials or so. That's crazy. I don't think it would be very long unless they have like kind of a renegade juror, because you could take every fact, hold it in favor of the DA after the arc of people testify, that is as much per se reasonable doubt as you could have, because they destroy the whole premise of the case. No car accident. And if there's no car accident, there's no guilt. That's it. So how could that not be reasonable doubt?
Absolutely.
Unless you're going to dismiss them like out of hand. It's not even possible that those guys are correct. That strikes me as really unlikely.
Follow-up question for you that I have for you. In a murder trial, what's the longest you've ever seen a murder trial jury deliberate for? On your own experience or in another case that you might be aware
It
of?
can go days and days and even, end up a hung jury. I mean, it could go on and on. There are times that they go long, and I think certainly given the gravity of the charges, that certainly elongates the deliberation. But to be honest, if the deliberations go longer and they end up in a certain way, I would think that a longer deliberation in a murder case, and this is generally, each case is fact different, would be giving the defendant the benefit of the doubt. Like, before we convict this guy, let's go down every rabbit hole and be damn sure we're doing the right thing. This case is different. It's going to be skewed the other way, where the reasonable doubt is going to be hovering. And if you want to give anyone the other side the benefit of the doubt, it's the prosecution. That never happens. I mean, it's a backwards deliberation is coming, in other words, if that makes sense.
Has there ever been a situation where a jury has come to a verdict so soon that a judge has actually told them to go back and deliberate? Didn't that happen one time?
I'm not aware of that happening. I mean,
Yeah.
I one time had an acquittal in 30 minutes, and I mean, it was in and out, goodbye, and it was the right thing. And it is what it is. I mean, you're not.
Can I ask?
You can.
What
poll
time of
the
day was
jury.
that? Was
What's
that like a lunch? Did they? Was it at lunch or like after lunch? Did they already have lunch?
It was the afternoon. No, I think they got the case in the afternoon, and they just.
So they had lunch.
Yeah. No, they just. That case was really stupid. It was from 2011 or 12. It was back in New York. There used to be a whole slew of cases of innocent tourists who were caught in New York because they forgot they had their gun with them. And there was a lot of these cases. It was like a big deal back then. They were all in the news. This case was in the news. You can look it up. It's an interesting case. But this guy was just a nice guy from Florida who down there, everybody has a gun in the glove box. That's just, and you throw it in there and you don't even think about it. And he had to come up to New York. He didn't know it was in there. He turned right on red, which if you ever come to New York, you can't do that in New York City. Got pulled over. Didn't even know there was a gun in there. And, you know, my old office, they wanted to send him away for 3.5 years. It was crazy. And the jury, you know, I think they were disgusted by it, even in New York, where in a courtroom, when you show them a gun, most jurors like hide under the table, because in New York, if you see a gun, everyone is, you know, freaking out. So there's no basis to send them back as long as that's their verdict. I mean, the other side has the right to poll the jury, but, you know, juror number 1, is that your verdict? Yes. Juror number 2, yes. I don't think the DA would do that. I mean, that would be the utter humiliation. They come back quick and Lally says, I want to poll the jury. And, you know, you hear is not guilty your verdict. Yes, 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 12 times. And then, I mean, I think that's just adding insult to injury. They'll probably skulk right out of there in 5 minutes.
Another question. Do you think that Lally will be better on the cross-examination? Will he liven up?
No, but I will tell you that the beginning of his cross the other day, because I even said this, he kind of like went full clown at the end. But when he started the cross of Dr. Russell the other day, again, scale of relativity, you know, I thought it wasn't bad. I mean, he was livelier. He did have a little, but the problem is, you know, when he started essentially implying that she was lying about why she saw this in the Boston Globe and how she came into it, at that point, you know, it's just like, there he goes again. Maybe for a few minutes, but the reality is, I don't know that I could cross some of the. I mean, how are you crossing the ARCA, guys? You're getting nowhere. You have no one to rebut it. You don't even have an expert to kind of run ideas off of. Your expert is like, you know, well, how did that evidence get there? It just did. I mean, that's your expert, right? I mean, he got asked a question by Alan Jackson.
That was amazing. You're right.
What else did the crime scene tell you? I mean, you know,
they're arguing about what a crime scene is, too.
Right. How did the phone get there? I don't know. It just did, because that's what they told me to say. I don't know. So, yeah. I mean, do I think he'll, you know, I don't know. Maybe he'll be interesting to watch with like a witness like the Plow guy, because the Plow guy is a much easier cross than any of these experts. And, you know, according to the DA, what you heard, was it Tully who was trying to crap all over Lucky with his soliloquy of trying to discredit him before he testified?
Yeah, he testified differently, he said.
So you can expect that they'll try to hit him on that. But ultimately, if the guy's like, I just drive the plow and I look specifically on the yard because I don't want to hit the curb, and nothing was there and I could see the yard, and then I came back and the car was there. I mean, you can attempt to impeach that, but again, you don't have to prove anything if you're the defense. I mean, it's just another penny on the scale that's tilting it the way of the defense. And at this point, you know, the prosecution needs more than a penny. I mean, they need 100-pound weight to tilt the scale in their direction. They're screwed.
And it's over. It really does seem over. It's just
the manner of death is undetermined. That's her testimony. Couldn't tell you if it was an accident or a homicide in her mind, because the issue of intent couldn't be, which, by the way, is really fascinating. Not because she's right, but for the jury to hear that and then to realize that they did indict her for intentional murder. And the key for Proctor and Yuri and the rest of those goons was to bully her into giving them a homicide to help get the intent. And you can see why they were pushing that. I mean, it all comes together.
Another comment said, Lally tried to discredit Celebrate findings while Jen McCabe was on the stand, but today with Guarino, he seemed to have no issue with Celebrate.
Yeah. I mean, what do you say? That's
Lally.
You know, forget it, Jake. It's Chinatown. I mean, it's it's just another day in Norfolk, I guess, that they do what they have to do to get where they need to get. And they don't appear to have any consistency. They don't appear to have any logic. They, whatever on any given day they need to do to what they think is advance the case, they appear willing to do. That's part of the problem on a much larger level than just Karen Reed.
Tomorrow's going to be wild because this is the beginning of the defense. It's going to be Lucky Laughrin.
But I still have to cross the
No,
medical examiner.
Yeah, we got
too,
the
which
medical, the cross.
is really interesting.
And I guess that's going to be Liza Little.
Yeah, if she's the one who was objecting and looking at the documents, that's 100% going to be her.
And how long would you expect that cross to last tomorrow, the medical examiner?
I mean, look, you have to use these hypotheticals about the language, I think, that Mazza mentioned earlier. Although you can't shove the text messages in her face because she's not a party to them and ostensibly doesn't know about them, you can ask her about the facts contained therein. And I think they would go out of their way to show that she got bullied and gave them a little and then kind of pulled back due to the, other proceeding, if you will. And then beyond that, I guess you'd finish up by saying at the end of the day, you didn't classify the manner of death because you had no clue. You had no evidence to give you any confidence one way or the other whether this was a homicide. And she's going to have to say, yeah. And, you'd finish up with something along the lines of, you said that a major contributing factor of his death was the blunt trauma on the back of the head, but you don't know if that's from a car or hitting the ground or a weight bench or a tire iron or any other object you could think of. You have no clue. And I think she's going to say, yeah, you're right. I don't. And then you just sit down. So I don't know, maybe 30 minutes. It's very unimpressive testimony. I mean, it's shocking how, unimpressive, not because she's doing anything wrong, but she's not really establishing anything.
A question about lots of people still think Karen was drunk. How does the defense fix this? Do they even need to?
Well, yes and no. I mean, no, if you accept the fact that there's no car accident, then, I don't think the intoxication matters on a larger level. To the extent you do care about it, there's a problem with the video, the drinks, and what Yuri claims is 9 drinks. Some people were mentioning this. I don't know if it was on the thing. Did I see what you were talking about last night, or did we talk about this? But given her no, I think it was last night where you guys were talking about somebody who may have like an intestinal problem, may monitor their own alcohol. It was a clear liquid. How do you know that's not water? The bills don't seem to match the amount. You don't see like the bartender hand her 9 drinks. You see her take a glass. Could it be the same glass? So, is there the scientific evaluation of her seems pretty weak, right? Like that formula that all those people were using after the fact. So it's more a summation thing. I don't know that there's much to fix. I mean, if you didn't cause the accident driving, you weren't driving.
Yeah, I mean, she drove from the waterfall to 34 Fairview and from 34 Fairview to 1 Meadow Lane without any incident, accident, or anything of the sort. They ranked up her blood alcohol level like 0.13 to 0.29
Yeah.
or whatever it was,
The other
which was
thing is
absolutely
this.
absurd.
And the DA has to be careful, though. That's really not their forte, I accept. But if you're too clever with her being wasted, you're undermining your other argument that she concocted these phone calls and texts and she's this driving all around, this brilliant cover up, like the one lawyer online, oh my God, who said the strongest evidence was her backing into, the exculpatory crowd. Oh
yeah.
my God.
Yeah.
But
What a jackass.
The point is that all, if you believe that there's that kind of after the fact cover up, that's clever. That's smart. That's organized, all of which is inconsistent with being a mad, raving, drunk lunatic. So which is it?
There you go. That's a good point. Very good.
Stellar point. That's
It
something
seems
we
like they
haven't
want to
really.
have it both
Every now
ways.
and then. Every
Yeah.
now and then.
Yeah, that was stellar. I mean, it's a good point. Why the two arguments? You know, it's what the heck. It's like in that Few Good Men. Why the two orders? You know, it's why the two theories. Was she drunk or was she motivated? What story are you guys telling? Because we know you're making it up anyways. So
Yeah.
They have her
thank you,
basically
Lauren.
sending all these messages, doing all these things, making it, to cover up what she did. And it's really organized. And if you believe it, sick. If you believe it, which I don't know that many reasonable people would. But what it doesn't appear consistent with is being blitzed out of your mind to the point where, you're so drunk that you mow him down and can't remember this and all of that, but you were able to do all of these post homicidal steps to cover it up. And they don't go together.
And you consider her body size and everything too. I mean, to drink the amount of alcohol that they said that she did and the level that they were trying to say that she would be drunk at. I mean, she wouldn't have been able to drive down the street without crashing into a mailbox.
Yeah, no, and the other thing is the video just didn't seem to match the report that they
Right.
had and what they were saying. And that's kind of weird. I mean, if you're going to make a big deal out of it, they were willing to bore people to death with all kinds of irrelevant evidence. But if you're going to make a big deal out of the drinking, then the one thing they should have done was play the whole video and show every drink and every
That's right.
indicia of her being intoxicated. But of course, as we said, the receipt doesn't match, and a clear liquid, they say it's vodka. Maybe it also could be water.
Right. Oh, but that's right. I'm sure maybe there's missing footage from the waterfall that night when she did have those drinks at CF's and the waterfall combined. Oh, missing footage again. I'm just making a joke, but honestly, they don't have they can't show the footage in court because it doesn't exist of any there's no evidence of her drinking as much as they said she did.
Someone else made a good point in the comments. Every now and then, you look down and see something about the messages that she left that they played. Did they sound like slurred speech or, classic intoxication? Not really, right? I mean, I don't remember, but nothing jumped out like, wow, she sloshed at all that I could remember.
I agree.
And none of the witnesses said, I mean, that's a key thing.
Well,
None of
that's
the witnesses-
interesting. Every single witness at the waterfall said she looked fine. Every single one.
Even the cops the next day too, like, cause it wasn't that, it was pretty early in the morning. If you were hammered the night before, you're still drunk in the morning, or at least smell of it. None of the cops said anything about it either.
Yeah, I mean, and look, also, you have to also go by body size and weight and that kind of thing. And if she had, what did they say, 10 drinks or whatever it was, which is a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, she's not physically a big person, body weight wise, so that would be a major factor. And you're somehow driving, you're leaving these messages. Everybody says you appear coherent, as this person says. What are you relying upon as the evidence of the intoxication? These quacky formulas drawing blood after the fact without even knowing when the alcohol was ingested, which was, a good part of that cross-examination from 100 weeks ago, it feels like, was if your whole premise to make the formula is that the last drink came during this window, what if it didn't? And again, who told you it did? Proctor. And this is before Proctor testified, so it was part of the setup.
Absolutely amazing. Proctor. Did you see what Garino today when they asked about Proctor? He said no. He was like, did Proctor do? No.
Nope.
He was so like, that was the most like.
No, not Proctor. He's not the lead investigator. There's no such thing as a lead investigator anymore. After 3 years of a lead investigator, the text messages come out, and now he's just an errand boy.
So I guess we've had a lot of instant feedbacks and super chats. I've been trying to post them all. Hopefully I got them all up there, all the questions. What are your do you have final thoughts tonight, Mazza Media?
Yes. Tomorrow, usually like on Fridays, it's a casual day at work. So typically, like in the movie Office Space, you wear jeans and like a Hawaiian shirt. Tomorrow, if you're able to, when you go to work, if you're able to wear a sleeveless green shirt and maybe put some fake tattoos on your arms, just go right ahead and do that because that's in style now as of today. So go right ahead and do that. But she
Did
actually.
you like her? I liked her.
I didn't
Actually.
like. I didn't have a problem with her at all. I thought she made a great point actually, because the statement that she made was I'm just laughing about the joke I made. Sorry, was basically that she said there was enough pressure in the brain that there are many surfaces that were pressing on the bony prominences of the skull, leading to multiple vessels blowing, causing contusions. That does not happen when you get hit by a motor vehicle with no head contact and your head lands on the grass, layered in snow. Yeah, it would happen if maybe you got punched in the face a couple of times, you get your head slammed into a wall, your head slammed and it caused a laceration. That would be something that would actually cause that. So, um, uh, that all said, I thought she was. I'm actually shocked she was Lally's witness for the Commonwealth, because she seemed to be very helpful to the defense, in my particular opinion. And Adam Lally, not a bad guy all the time. I mean, sometimes he just gives wins. He's like a goaltender in hockey that just kind of steps aside and says, "Go ahead, put that right in the net." Go right ahead. So that's it. But yeah, you know what? Actually, someone's right. Yeah, green shirt day would be because it's the Celtics parade. But if you're going to the Celtics parade, wear a sleeveless green shirt. Get some tattoos
I
on
wonder
there.
if
Go
she
ahead.
was wearing green for the Celtics.
I don't know. I don't know. That's what I thought too, actually. So yeah, absolutely. So no, but I thought she was very helpful to the defense. So that's about it. So that's all I got to say. So those are my thoughts. Oh, go ahead. You had a question?
Do you have any shows upcoming?
Sunday with Brian Barrere. I'm working on a Sunday show with him about 6 o'clock on Sunday. So we've been talking a little bit about doing a show together. So that is the Mazda Media Sunday show is starting to become a weekly thing. So, that looks like that's the plan as of right now. So I actually ordered a green screen background tonight. Because I will be going on camera soon, but no sooner than 8 days from now, unfortunately, when it arrives. So I got a green screen that's coming
Can
in.
you send me a link to all that stuff?
Yeah, I can.
'Cause
Yeah,
I think I might want to get a screen.
it attaches to the seat, and then the green screen's behind. Have you ever seen the movie The Time Machine from 1960? You remember that big circular disc? It's kind of like that. It's kind of like this big circular green screen. It goes behind you, and I'm getting the 63-inch one. So I'll send you a link on that in a couple
8
of minutes.
days. Did you order it
Yeah.
from Afghanistan or something?
No
Wow.
overnight. No overnight. The only delivery was 8 days out today. That was it. Nothing for like 1 day, 2 day shipping. Nothing at all. There was no way to like, can I pay for this?
They're like,
So I got
no,
that.
no screen for you for 8 days.
Yeah, exactly. But I got great news. The camera works. You want to know what it was? It was my computer security system. I had decided to fire this thing up to my work computer, and it fired right up and worked. And I said, you know what? I bet you it's my security system. Sure enough, I went to the settings, and it
Wow.
says webcam block. I had to unblock it, and it worked. So there we go.
This is good news, because this thing where you blink when you talk.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many people are big Stanley Kubrick thing, but it's like Hal talking.
You're right. Yeah. It was, yeah.
You know,
2001: A Space Odyssey.
I want to tell you to close the pod bay doors, and yeah, but
people will miss the blinking dot one of these
I
days.
think Janet Reed liked that.
She was laughing about it. Yeah, she loved it. She's like, she likes when it blinks. It's hilarious.
Yeah. Look, to me, this is all just getting to the finish line. This case was DOA before it started. You still have to go through and say, maybe they'll present something. Maybe there'll be something interesting. And all that went out the door when you heard the defense witnesses the other day, who are, I mean, nothing else matters at this point. I mean, it's interesting. It'll be helpful, but it doesn't matter how many more good days the DA has if they can't literally obliterate the ARCA experts. Because if the jury has any reason to question reasonably that there was a car accident, a car driven by Karen Reed, ran into John O'Keefe and caused his death, then literally nothing else in this case matters, because their whole case is exactly that premise I just mentioned. And all you need is them to say, well, maybe not. And that's it. The rest of this stuff is meaningless. So, and they must know this, and they clearly have known this for months, at least since they got the TUI stuff. So, and here they are, still giving the college try. I don't understand it. I think it's a shame. I think they should have dismissed it. That. I've said that for weeks, but it looks like it's finally going to end. And I totally understand why they're trying to trim the fat of their own case and make it quicker. And, if it's really going to end next week, then I would assume it'll be over next week, like over, because there's just no way that I can see her getting convicted unless these witnesses fall apart. But how could they?
Exactly. Those Archer guys are not going to fall apart.
No
way.
They don't care. I mean, they have literally no skin in the game.
But truth.
And more importantly, and this is another problem that Lally has with these guys. This is like the leading consulting firm in this field. And, I made a joke the other day when the guy was testifying about the NHL and the Zdeno Char. I remember that play literally with Max Pacioretty in Montreal. He nailed him right into the stanchion. People thought Pacioretty was dead for a few minutes.
Yeah, that was a bad hit.
I
remember that.
But it was a hit, but it was the stanchion. But for the rest of his career, every time Chara would go to Montreal, he'd get booed anytime he touched the puck. But as if there aren't enough problems for the DA, Chara, as you know, is a legend in Boston, of all places.
Oh, yeah.
And when these guys start telling vignettes about the Bruins, if you will,
there's going to be a couple people that,
of course, and they're going to say, "Whoa, these are the guys
are major.
the NHL went to prevent that, and these are the guys that the military goes to for, saving lives." And
that's like and like you said too, like when he drove him into the stanchion, like that's the major. Like the NFL has some major issues with player safety, and the NHL, that's the major player safety issue. That exactly what happened in that play.
And what did they do? They said, these are the guys that can help us. And we're supposed to believe that when they come in about, for all intents and purposes, a random engagement by the FBI, which has probably happened time to time, and they say, all right, show us what you're going to show us. And our opinion is, this doesn't appear to be a car accident. And they don't care, because as soon as they render that opinion, they look at their watch, they go home, and they say, what's for dinner? They don't care in that sense. So in that regard, they're perfect defense witnesses. Didn't hire them, didn't pay them, never met them, dumped in our lap. We don't care about either one of you. There's just no car accident.
Yeah.
So
and they're the best.
Why are we here?
They're the best at you can't find better witnesses.
So why are people online tap dancing over how wonderful these little things are, which are not even that? I think their interpretation of that is a little warped too, but putting that aside, they just don't see the big picture here. And the big picture is going to be when someone like Jackson does a summation about reasonable doubt in the state of the evidence, that it's hopeless. Yeah.
It's already over, and it's just going to get worse.
Right. Totally.
That's why I'm smiling. Feeling good. I'm feeling really good about this case right now.
Was he did somebody
exonerating
say
Karen Reed?
I responded to this today too, where they were saying that Jackson was this terrible lawyer, and if he hired a real lawyer, let me tell you something, okay? One of the benefits about practicing in Manhattan is you see the best your whole life on both sides. This guy is like A+, okay? Top of the top, first tier. The idea that some loser who lives in his mother's attic and doesn't understand anything about the law or trial practice or criminal procedure would be criticizing a lawyer of that skill set is just remarkable.
The best of the best. Like that's exactly he's in his prime too. He's like it's not like he's the best of the best, but he's 90 years old, so he missed a step. No, he's like, and this guy used to fix airplanes, apparently. Like, he's an impressive guy.
Yeah,
really
that
hard
was
worker too.
another really regrettable fact for the trooper expert, that you never want the lawyer to be smarter than you literally about the technical stuff
Yeah.
that you're supposed to be an expert about. That's really unfortunate.
It's even like his presentation skills and his questioning skills are so good. But
He's
then,
great.
like you said, he's got this technical mind that even I think the best lawyers maybe don't have quite like he does. So
Yeah, no, the idea that like some Yahoo on Twitter in an attic is saying this guy's an idiot is just
delusional. Delusional.
You really start to wonder, do these people believe what they're saying, or is this all just an act? I don't even.
Yeah, I think that some of it is like it's funny how, because he calls it a cult. I think he's in a self cult, like with a couple of these actually McAlberts. Like, I think that when the McAlberts are telling you how it is every day, and you got a brain like him, and all they got to do is say, dude, you're the best, you're the strongest, you're the only one who can do this for us. You know what I mean? I think that's all it takes is this guy
That's kind of
ego.
been the theme.
And
Yeah.
who's he talking to? He's talking to Chris Albert every day. He's talking, it's easy, right? Think about it. Easy mark. We call that when we were at easy mark. That's what he is. He's an easy mark.
What do we know? We're just grifters.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of grifters.
What is he got? It's so funny. People sometimes get mad though. We talk about we get too much glee out of it. I guess I'm enjoying it. I mean, it's just
They just keep coming back. I mean, what are you supposed to do?
And they come at us. That's the funniest thing. Like we're not looking for it. They just keep coming at us. It's just like
The first interaction I ever had with Plevin was that he messaged someone. I posted some kind of audio clip like 6 months ago, and all of a sudden he messages back, I don't know who this guy is, but he appears to be a grifter. I'm like, what the hell is a grifter? I had to Google the damn word because I didn't know what it meant.
And any 10 drunks in a bar.
Any 10 drunks, including Kevin. Kevin's one of them. Kevin's one. He's sitting there drinking his drink.
I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. Does that mean any 10 random drunks are smarter than you? Is that what that means?
That's smarter than Kevin.
Okay. Whatever. Anyway,
thank you guys for being here tonight.
Thank you.
I enjoy it. It's fun. We get a lot of info and then we laugh. We have some good laughter.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Can't wait for this to be over and Karen Reed's not guilty.
Besides Windy World today, there was the full clown tonight that Bederow dropped. Full clown.
Full clown. Wendy World.
So
Wonderful Wendy World.
That was Lally. Lally pulled the full clown on that one.
Wendy World is the capital city in the nation of the island of the misfit toys, and the population is growing daily.
Welcome to wonderful Wendy World, where you can go on the wacky water slides.
We're getting a jingle. We're gonna get a jingle for this. We should create a commercial.
Don't forget to go to the
Get some
wonderful gift
dancing
shop where you can
girls.
have wacky candy.
We'll have a couple cocktails. We'll have the poolside lounge for you. We're doing a commercial. Windy World.
Don't forget the muting challenge where you can see who screams the loudest while you're on mute.
My God.
Don't forget to take your picture with Chloe the dog, and leave the damn dog alone out of this. The dog had nothing to do with this challenge.
Poor dog.
No, I'm getting a little crazy. It's after 10:30.
Yeah.
Leave the damn dog alone.
I gotta look at why we're going crazy. I have to look at the comments right now. I turned them off. Let me take a look. Okay, they're enjoying it.
I mean, look.
Yeah, Suzanne goes to the towel.
Is the towel in there?
Towel. And be sure to grab your complimentary towel after you get off the wacky water slide.
By the way, one last complaint. Since we're all grifters, this guy Grant literally publicly begs and appeals for people to give him food and gas money. He put up something the other day saying my car literally ran out of gas and I'm gonna stop my content unless people give me money. And I'm thinking this is everyone's chance to make him disappear. I double dog dare you to follow through with that. Go away. And doesn't he live with Wendy?
Yeah.
Does she not provide him with Fruit Loops or anything?
Well,
Just-
he
I
gets a
mean-
he gets a stipend too from the state.
Yeah, he drives like a Porsche. Yeah, his mother's Porsche.
Well, it's her Porsche,
Yeah,
right?
her
It's an
Porsche,
older
yeah.
Porsche. Yeah, she's got the new one. He's got the old one.
I don't have any money for food, but I drive a Porsche and you should pay me. Okay.
Yeah, and he doesn't work, even though he obviously probably could because he showed up at court every day.
Well,
But that's
until
another
the-
story for
yeah.
another day. We're getting
Yeah.
off topic. I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. We'll
Yeah.
we'll talk tomorrow. See what happens in court, and thank you guys for
Be
being here.
interesting.
All right.
Yeah.
Good night.
And
Don't
have
forget to
fun
bring a
at the
towel.
Celtics parade.
Oh yeah, Celtics. Have fun tomorrow, Mark. I can't get out there. My boss is
I
my boss is
appreciate
on
it. It'll probably
vacation
be a
right
zoo,
now.
and
So
I'll probably hate myself for doing it.
Yeah.
But for now, I'm excited.
yep, that's all.
Ask me again tomorrow. I'll say,
We
"Oh,
will.
Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully, it
10,000
goes out good for you.
Yeah, I hope so.
Awesome.
All right, guys.
Enjoy
Don't
the
wear your
boat.
hoodie. Wear a short sleeve shirt.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Oh,
hot.
we have shorts and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
That's good.
We're
It's hot.
extra water.
Yep.
All right.
Take care.
Excellent, everyone. Have
Thank
a good
you,
evening.
guys.
Have a good night, guys. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mike.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, guys.
Super.
Bye bye.
And I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. We had some Venmos tonight. A lot of Venmos coming in. I want to thank everyone for doing the super chats and the Venmos and watching and supporting. We had one from a Fed tonight. A Fed sent some money. Let's read this one. Don't say my name. I'm a Fed, different agency, but Fed law enforcement. Molasses flows fast in comparison to federal timelines. It's insane. I'd be comfortable getting to an urgent EOD project end of day after 4th of July. And I'm considered Charlie Hustle. That was $5 from a Fed tonight. Thank you so much, Mr. or Mrs. Fed. That's all I'll call you tonight. Christine sent $5 on Venmo. She says, I wrote a letter to Channel 5 that I posted in tonight's live under comments. It's under Christine. Can you read to Mark? Not right now. Mark is gone, but maybe another time. And maybe send me a link to it directly on social media, either Twitter or Facebook, Christina. That would be the best way. Lisa also sent $5. She said, love listening to you guys. The Celts may have their parade tomorrow, but we need a parade for when Karen is exonerated, and you guys need to be recognized along with Karen's Rockstar legal team and all her supporters. Free Karen Reed. Signed, Lisa. Thank you so much, Lisa. I would love to see a parade for Karen Reed when she's exonerated. Gary sent $10, said defense. Thank you so much, Gary. Mary also sent $10 on Venmo. She said, my favorite show, love from Arbertley, Texas. Wow. Thank you so much from Arbertley, Texas, Mary. Eileen also sent $18 on Venmo. She says, free Karen Reed. Thanks for all your coverage. Praying for justice. Thank you, Eileen. Christine sent $20 and she says, free Karen Reed. Thank you so much, Christine. And we also have Roxanne who sent $5 the other night. And she says, love the triple M's. I want to make sure I got that in. And Leanne also $10 the other night. She said, thank you for hosting Bederow. All right, that's it on Venmo. I'm just going to check the Cash App real quick. And it looks like it's raining out there. I can hear it raining pretty hard. Mary sent $9 on the Cash App. She says, thanks for your great show with Mazza and Bederow. Thank you so much, Mary. And Kim sent $5. Why is the judge going to give Commonwealth a week for rebuttal? I don't know. Will they actually need a week? I don't think. I mean, if you're Lally, like Attorney Bederow said, what do you got to say to ARCA? I mean, how are you going to do a rebuttal against ARCA? All right. I'm just going to look at the Cash Apps. I just want to again thank the Broken Baker for having me last night. It was a great show with Melanie Little, Attorney Melanie Little, and Brandy Churchwell. It was a lot of fun. And Attorney Runkle. He was fun too. I like him. He is funny. He's got some good I know he gets a little shit because he's a little, middle of the road sometimes on things, but he's a logical guy. I like Runkle. I like the Runkle. He's a lawyer. He's thinking critically. Kristen writes, attic boy and men, stupid quitter, drive me UTS. Attic boy. So funny. Attic boy. He's got a lot of names, I guess. That dude. All right, I'm just checking a couple more of your the chat before I leave. I want to thank everyone who's been watching tonight, and thank you so much to MJ. She's our moderator, and Jennifer and Stephanie for being our moderators. I want to thank our regulars like the Rogue Tony and Lauren, like Lauren TZY. She's awesome. Thank you so much for being. You guys have been around for a while. There's a lot of you. I know there's a lot of new people, and sometimes I don't get the to throw up all the old commenters up. I really appreciate everyone who's been supporting us. Scott McGinnis here tonight from Canton. Great show, Mike, on Baker last night. Thank you, Scott. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to not giving up. I know that some of the true law people, true crime people, probably aren't going to stay on Canton like I'm going to after this is all over. So we're going to continue to cover and push for justice for what happened here and change in the state police in Canton, state of Massachusetts. Lauren said she watched the replay today. She loves Runkle too. Yeah, Runkle's good. I know some people get mad at him. I liked his response too when he's like, if you're going to come to my house, I got guns. I'm licensed. I'm well trained. You know, it's like my response. I don't have guns, but I got guns, if you know what I mean. Look, I'm hitting the mic. I'm getting macho again. But like, you know, you want to come at me, I'm trained. Hand to hand. I'll knock the microphone away. I'm getting worked up. But I like that. I like that Runkle was ready to go. Like, I'm ready to wrestle this microphone right now. Runkle is free carry. I believe he is too. I mean, he sees it. He sees it for what it is. Grant will be the top clown. Oh, poor Grant. I feel bad for him, actually, even though he's awful. He's done terrible things. I still have sympathy for the guy. I do. It's weird. I know. Free Karen Reed, people say. Yes, free Karen Reed. I can't wait. Look how excited I am. I feel really good right now, really confident that we got this right, all of us. And that the courtroom's going to reflect reality. I mean, that's always the biggest fear. You still never know. You never know what a jury could do. But it looks pretty good right now. And I'm also excited about this channel and the following and you guys, because we're going to cover a lot more things going forward too. I may not have the schedule where we're doing shows every single night, but it's going to be a regular thing. And I'm going to be covering some other injustices. It's definitely going to jump on Sandra Birchmore. I think we're going to have some candidates for governor's council who they're the ones who decide who gets to be a judge in a lot of respects. So we're going to have some local politics. We're also going to continue to cover Canton and some other things. There's some other local people who are in jail that seem to be innocent. Well, we're going to cover some of those stories too. So I'm looking forward. Someone tonight asked if we might go on to cover the Alec Baldwin trial. I don't know. Depending on timelines, I don't even know. Is that happening right now? Like I've lost track of like world events because of this Karen Reed case. Let's put it that way. I don't even keep up with politics anymore. I have no idea what's going on in the rest of the world. Maybe. I mean, it just depends, you know. I may take a little break too for a few weeks. We'll see. Yes, I have dogs. We've got a couple dogs upstairs tonight. I love just reading the comments. I guess I gotta go. It's getting late. Someone just Googled Wendy Murphy. Yeah. Exactly. Free Karen Reed. one thing I could ask you to do tonight, if you want to help Karen Reed, throw a donation down. FreeKarenReed.net. FreeKarenReed.net. You can donate to her defense fund directly. If you'd like to do so, do it. FreeKarenReed.net. All right, everyone. Good night. I will see you tomorrow. Yes, see you tomorrow in the AM in the chat. We're going to be covering broadcasting tomorrow. Thank you, Miss Shorty, too. You're amazing. Hopefully, I'm gonna try to get Miss Shorty on the show pretty soon. All right, I'll see everyone very soon. Baker said this morning that Grant was crowdfunding for gas money. Yes, he was. Grant actually crowdfunds for gas money. That's exactly where he's at. I want to thank the Broken Baker again for having me. Baker is a good guy. Thank you so much for having me on last night. I'll see everyone in the morning. Have a great night. Thank you so much for supporting, contributing, subscribing. I can't believe that we're at, what is it, like 27,000 now? Unbelievable. And I can't believe how many of you have become members. We're definitely going to have to, after this trial is over, I think we're going to have our first member-only show, or maybe we'll just do member-only comments in the chat. I don't know. We'll figure something out. I want to thank all of you for subscribing and becoming members too. It's huge. Thank you so much. I'll see you tomorrow morning. And look, we'll probably do a stream tomorrow night too with Bederow. We shall see. We always announce them last minute depending on schedule. He's traveling. He's going to the Celtics parade tomorrow with his daughter. So we'll see what happens. But if not, we'll do something this weekend definitely. So just check the YouTube and just check every night basically, and see if we're streaming. We probably are. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great night, everyone.